I'm going to try and knock out a quick homebrew Wednesday. Was going to do one last week. Most of this stuff has kind of happened last week, and there's been changes since then, but it's time to get it up now, I think. Firstly, I want to say a big thank you to Ant Rogerson for the beer mail that I got. You've probably already seen that I've done a few reviews of some of the beers. Excellent so far, can't fault any of the beers. Credit to him, just a great brewer. Some of the beers have just been out of this world, especially the no chill cube just blew me away. I mean, I'm hoping that from the back of that this Saturday I've got kind of a little bit of a free pass, the wife's out, once the kids are in bed, I'm going to hope to try and do, if I can, a 60-minute mash, 15-minute boil, and then in the cube, just to see how quick. I'm not saying that this is how I'm going to do my beers forever on, but for me, I couldn't detect any off flavours in my 15-minute boil, and I couldn't detect any off flavours in the cube beer. It was a great beer, and the Motueka smash at 15 minutes boil was excellent. So I'm just thinking, could you do when you want to do your house IPA or anything like that? I think it would only probably work with an IPA. I don't think you could get away with doing bitters or anything like that. It's going to have to be something hoppy, because I think the hops hide a multitude of sins with beers, and maybe for me that's what hides some of the taste. I know some of the other home brewers will say they can taste these certain off flavours, but which I'll have to go and grab because it's not here, but I want to show you. Sorry about that, got attacked by a child. So going back to I can't detect any off flavours, so I think hoppy beers, maybe they hide those off flavours for me, but I'm going to give it a go. I've kind of got a recipe in mind that I'm going to do, just to see if it works out. And I'm almost thinking of maybe that what I will do, I'll try and film it, is to do that recipe, but do it as a 15-minute boil in the cube, then do it as maybe a 30-minute boil in the cube, then possibly 40, maybe 60, take it up to that, and then I'll probably do the same recipe, full mash, full boil, and then see, obviously it's not going to be quite the same because working out the bitter in and the aroma and whatnot in the cube isn't going to quite be the same as the original recipe, but as close to as what I think roughly that I can guess that it's going to be, just to see, is it better when you do a full boil? Is it better, just to kind of compare. Anyway, we'll see. It'll make for a kind of a interesting experiment, I think, just to see how it affects the flavour and that. We'll do a couple of other shout outs to a few people. I've wrote a little list of some of the other people that I've been following. And the first one is Mosswood Homebrew, which is a Scottish chap that's been doing a few sort of beer kits. He's done a Brew Firm Creek. He's done a lot of the Cooper's kits. I know that he's got the Pat Max cider caps and that. Really good watch, so check out Mosswood Homebrew. Ian Hunter, I've been watching a lot of his videos. I know Ant Rogerson sent in his beers and vice versa. Steve Molson, I know a few people have subbed to him and that. The bloke has a massive allotment. I don't know how he finds time to brew when he's got that much ground keeping and vegetable going on anyway. Reverend Bus, I know a few people have already subscribed to him and that, but for me at the moment as well, he's doing some great videos for sort of people new to brewing a bag and whatnot, and everything that he said, I kind of think that's real sound advice. It's not kind of too confusing, or it's just kind of to the point, and so hats off to him. He's doing some some good informative videos for the people that are just getting into things out there. Mr. Coulson as well, he's doing a sourdough beer, which is quite interesting for me. He's doing a beer at the yeast he uses for his sourdough bread, and he's doing a long experiment with it, and he's going to do it in different videos and that, and the part one of it's up. And for me, a beer brewery that I like, Wild Beer, have done a sourdough beer that I've not managed to get, but the yeast they use in that is I think it's 53 years old, the yeast that's been running for it and that. The beer's meant to be really great, so I'd love to see how his experiment turns out. So that's quite an interesting one for me. Beer Lover 25, I subbed to him a long time ago from recommendation of Hammer Foam Brew. He used to do a lot of like commercial beer reviews, and I think he did a few kits, but he's just gone to all grain, and I think his first one weren't too great. He's just done a lager, and that's turned out really good, and I kind of could see it in his face that, you know, when you get that first taste of something you've brewed and it's good, and you think, I've brewed that and it's really nice, and it's your, you know, your first good all grain kind of thing. Another one to definitely look out. Another chap is Grey Brew. That is GRAY dash then brew. This chap's done some crazy stuff. He's made his own like little steel. He made a stir plate out of Lego. He also put me onto a little book, which I'll have to go and grab because it's not here, but I want to show you. Right, I'm back. It is quite small, it's probably why you could lose it. I saw that he had this in a video, and I managed to. It is kind of based on American brewers. It's all like American measurements and whatnot. I actually got it from America direct. It was cheaper than getting it here. It was like £3. But it's all about doing like 6-packs from scratch. So it's all kind of based on grain brewing, but only basically making very small amounts. But what I thought was quite good is the breakdown of some of the recipes. You probably won't get it on my dodgy camera and that. It gives you everything from obviously what you need, your sparge, your boil, you know, what you're going to use as the yeast and that, but it even gives you the amount of bottling sugar to add as well to the batch. Really kind of like a real good breakdown. Most kind of recipes on brewing books and that give you kind of only sort of like part of the information, and it's up to you, you know, whatever carbonation level you want. Obviously, you know, you might not want to go with what they've got, but I think to have everything in one sort of space for someone that's just starting out is really good. And there's a lot of other information in there. Obviously, if you're quite an experienced brewer and you've already done all grain, there's probably parts of it, you know, I would say probably 40% of the book you're not going to read because you know it all. But if you don't, and you've not done all grain, and you think that you can't do all grain, and you're flat, or, you know, for me that was one of the things, although I can do it elsewhere, I can't do it here. You can, you know, there are ways of doing it, and little books like this show you how you can, you know, you can do things like that. So thanks to Grey Brew for showing that from camera, because I think that's quite a good little book, especially for people that want to do small batches. Because, and I know there's the age-old argument that why would you want to do 6 bottles when you could do 30 bottles or 40 bottles? But for me, I get bored after about, you know, 2-3 bottles of something. I want the next thing. I don't want to keep drinking the same old, you know. So if I can brew lots, you know, or it might take a bit of, you know, it might take the same amount of time. That's the thing. It's not always quicker depending on how you're brewing. But if you've got a variety and you're brewing more as a result of that, you know, if you're just thinking, I've got 40 bottles of this, I've got to get through this before I brew the next batch, I've got nowhere to store it, because you've got 40 bottles. If you've only got 6 bottles to store and you live in a flat, if you brewed, you know, 6 batches, perfect. Why would you want to, you know, for me, it works out a lot better to brew less. And if I want to brew a big batch because I'm going to give some out, or, you know, do it of something, that's why. And sorry for all the cuts in this video. I'll try and blur them together if I can in the software. The only other thing that I'm going to talk about this week is my next project is to try and somehow get a way of having a keg system in the flat. I quite like bottling. I know most people don't. I've got a decent capper now. You know, bottling days are not too bad, especially when you're brewing smaller batches. It doesn't stress me out too much, but there's times where I think, you know, I see other people in their keg systems and that, and I can't have it in the flat saying got the fridge. I really would like a way of doing it. So to start with the project, I kind of had an idea of, you know, how I'm going to do it, but it's kind of not ground to a halt, but it's in kind of a middle stage where I'm not sure how I'm going to kind of do the next stage. But part of it, recently I purchased a corny keg, but not a full size one. This is a 9 litre one. So as you can see, it's a lot smaller than a normal corny keg. It obviously holds 9 litre, not the 19 litres. They're not a whole lot cheaper, which is quite annoying. The cheapest place to get them is the Malt Miller. Very, very good price. I think it was 74. I wouldn't pay what the other places are charging. They're charging like £100 for the 9 litre, which is the same price as the 19 litre. And at that point, why would you buy it? I mean, I know this isn't still a whole heap cheaper, but the fact that it is slightly cheaper, makes it more appealing. And I think most people that are going to buy this one are going to buy it for the reason of either taking to someone's house at a party or something like that, or on holiday, or kind of doing what I'm doing. Otherwise, you would buy the 9 I wouldn't buy this otherwise. It is made by the same people that made the original corny kegs that you get second hand and that, but this is brand spanking new. Obviously the O-rings are brand, everything about it is new. It has kind of the rubber has a weird smell, like when it's new. Almost like a kind of a fruity type bubblegum smell. Really odd, I don't know why that is. But anyway, so my next stage in this is trying to work out a way to keep it cool when I put the beer in it. So my plan is originally to brew up a basic beer kit that I've got kicking around to kind of test how I'm going to work through having this system set up. My initial idea was to kind of have it in like a cool box and then put loads of ice around it, serve it out like that. I know Big CQ does something like that with his mini keg system. The only thing being is kind of trying to find a cooler that's going to fit that. I've seen a few people in America use like the porta potty style that like Peanut Brewery uses as his mash tun, because it's cylindrical. They put that inside it, loads of ice around it, party tap on top, gas going in like the little charger on the top. And that's the other thing. I'm probably not going to prime this and carbonate it in the flat. I'm going to do it where I normally brew my beer, on a proper CO2 system, and then bring it to the flat and then use the CO2 charger just to dispense it, because I know people have used the CO2 charger, 2 or 3 bulbs of the 16 gram bulb to dispense like a whole 19 litre corny keg. So I'm thinking that I'll probably use a lot less just to dispense a small keg. You probably could get away with carbonating this small keg with the 16 gram bulbs, but I think you'd get through a lot and it wouldn't be cost effective. My only other option is I've seen in America and other hot places seem to build a thing called a jockey box, which is like a cool box cooler with a length of copper or stainless steel pipe, which stainless steel they reckon is better, coiled up into like a coil that you would for your water chiller. That comes out the back of the cool box. You have a tap on the front, like any kind of flash tap you want, or a plastic one. Your keg would sit on the outside, your gas would sit on the outside, and your beer would basically flow through the copper tubing, but around that copper tubing is going to be loads of ice and whatnot. That would work, but my only fear is am I going to drink the 9 litres in a weekend? The beer in the copper tube is going to go funny after a while. If I don't drink it all, it's going to stay in there. If I only had like a party tap on the end of this, and I was serving through a CO2 charger, I'm going to pretty much drink what's in the tap, and from the disconnect, and that's it. Anything else isn't going to go down because it's in the keg and under pressure. My only fear of doing that, I don't want kind of like infections and messy beer and whatnot, so I don't think that's really going to work. I've looked at a couple of options. There are some wine chillers that seem to be roughly the same size as this keg. They're designed to hold 6 to 8 bottles. Husky make one and Russell Hobbs make one. But the only trouble is I found both of them places, and the internal measurements of the fridges are kind of on the real limits of the width of that. You'd get it in if you could sort of put it at an angle, and a couple of people said you could obviously drill the holes in the fridge, and I could even probably carbonate it in that fridge, but that's not really what I'm looking to do, because I don't want the gas in here, because probably the fridge might be somewhere hidden in another room, or or in the kitchen. So I'm kind of hoping that the keg gets done somewhere else, brought here, chilled down in that little fridge, and then dispensed via party tap and CO2 charger. So I'm kind of struggling at the moment to find a suitable way of chilling the keg down. And I know a lot of the wine fridges only go down to about 8 degrees. It don't bother me that it doesn't go down further than that. I don't kind of want the beer super cold. And I've even seen some people, what they do is they don't even sort of carbonate this with CO2. They prime it like they would a normal keg. They put the sugar in, let it carbonate, and then they use the CO2 to dispense. So you're kind of getting like almost a cask conditioned beer out of the keg. So I'm in the middle of the road at the moment. But we'll see. But I think that's about it. So if anyone's got any ideas how to sort that keg out or chill it, let me know.